Protesters took to the streets last night as people demanded justice for the killing of George Floyd. What began in Minneapolis has expanded. Protests in Los Angeles, New York, Memphis, Columbus, and more. Here in Denver, Black Lives Matter demonstrators closed down an interstate. In Minneapolis, protesters charged a police station, setting the precinct on fire. The mayor explained he told officers to flee because the importance of life outweighed the symbolism of a police station. Now this morning, a heavy police presence is seen on the streets as they try to clear out the demonstrators and take back the police station. Here in Denver, some protesters put their life on the line. And a warning to our viewers, this content is graphic. A black SUV plowed into a group of demonstrators before turning and ramming into a man. The protester appeared to be okay, but people took off after the vehicle after it drove away. And in Kentucky, 7 people were shot at a Louisville protest. It was all over the death of Breonna Taylor. Now, you remember, Breonna was an innocent black woman. She was shot dead by white police officers who entered her home. They weren't even supposed to be there. That was back in March, and there's still no justice for her. So meantime, the president was tweeting about all the unrest last night. Twitter attached a warning to one of his tweets, saying it violated its policies on glorifying violence. The tweet reads, "These thugs are dishonoring the memory of George Floyd, and I won't let that happen." Just spoke to Governor Tim Walz and told him that the military is with him all the way, any difficulty, and we will assume control. But when the looting starts, the shooting starts. Thank you. Now this morning, the Minnesota Attorney General is responding to the president. Here's what he said about it on CBS this morning.
Calling people thugs and calling on people to get shot stems from the same sort of attitude that resulted in the death of George Floyd.
Wow. Rightfully, I don't even know where to go from here. I really don't. Let me start with you, Brandon, and ask you, number one, do you think that the president's tweet did and will incite violence? And number two, I want to get your thoughts on the unrest.
Yes, Sam, I do think that it will incite violence, but I think it will incite violence on both sides because one side of it is, I believe that's good old boy language that's being used. You start looting, they start shooting. Like, how is that supposed to heal America? How is that supposed to unify? Because on the other end of it, I think people are going to go out there armed with guns to try and protect their businesses. And on the other side of it, people are going to hear that and hear that type of language, and they're going to go out. And I agree with the Attorney General, who said that this is the type of language that got Mr. Floyd killed. So I do feel like that's going to incite some sort of violence. But Sam, one thing that really hits me is my 11-year-old nephew has been watching the news. And he asked my older brother the other day, I believe it was yesterday, asking him about God and angels and devils, because my younger nephew is now scared because he's half black, he's half Italian. And now I'm preparing myself next time I go home to have that conversation with him about how there are going to be people out there that don't like you because of your skin color. There are going to be people out there who don't like you because you're half Italian as well. So now I'm gearing up for that uncomfortable conversation with an 11-year-old because everything that's going on and this polarizing topic in the world right now.
Right. Thank you for sharing that, Brandon. And Al, that's a conversation that you have to have with your children. Yeah. That your parents had to have with you. I never had to have that conversation with my parents. My parents never sat me down and said, "Sam, this is how you act when you're pulled over. This is how you act when you're profiled to protect your life." What do you make about what Brandon said? And what do you make about all the unrest? In fact, I just want to read, this comment just came in from a viewer, and I'd love to get your response. This is coming in from Miss Deneen. She says, "We cannot be expected to peacefully demonstrate against our own genocide."
Right. I mean, just let's start at where it starts. What Brandon said first about good old boy talk, that statement with the looting, when the looting starts, the shooting starts, Donald Trump didn't make that up. That's traced back to a sheriff in the 60s that was allowing that same kind of violence to take place in his small county. That phrase has been used to allow the murder of people over goods in it to be justified. As it pertains to kids and where we're going, and that last comment, people have to understand, and this is a line in exchange from a movie called Zombieland. And Woody Harrelson had his son killed, and the voiceover said, "When you take a man's son, he's willing to do anything." And we have to understand that as a society, when you start killing people's kids, when you start posting pictures of it on Facebook, when you
like
start,
Ahmaud Arbery,
yes, when
right?
you start circulating videotapes amongst your circles about how you murdered somebody and got away with it, there's only so far that will go. And you can say what you want, you can have all the police and all the riot gear you want. There's more of us than there are of you. And if you do not fix this, I'm not advocating for violence. I'm just saying the way human beings act, when you've taken everything that they have away from them and they see a dystopian future, everything is now on the table, Sam.
Right. No, and you hear a lot of those protesters last night chanting, "No justice, no peace."